What's going on, everybody? LK here, and today I was going to just do a kind of standard Street Fighter 6 tips for like new players, but instead I decided to put a little bit of a twist on this. I actually asked 4 longtime members of the Street Fighter community, people you probably would know pretty well, for advice that they think new players don't typically get for Street Fighter. So I went and asked Sajam, Kizzie, Punk, and Idom what piece of advice they would give to somebody who is just starting Street Fighter that they think that most people would not tell them.
Hey, what's going on, guys? First and foremost, thank you so much, LK, for having me be able to tell you guys this. So one of the advice that a good Street Fighter player should tell you and should know is there's always various ways to deal with one problem. And I feel like a lot of people really get stuck in one way of kind of like trying to figure out this solution. But you should always have multiple ways. There's always should be multiple ways, for example, to anti-air. You don't always want to just believe in just, crouch fears or like uppercut. People can really jump in certain ranges where they kind of have a blind spot. So you want to have various ways of how to deal with that example of a jumping. And that's one of the biggest things that I could tell advice that players should know. It's very important to have very, very variable ways to deal with one answer. Because once a person figure out that that's your answer, they could probably take advantage of that. And that could probably leave you in a dead zone of ideas. And you don't want to be like that intense match like rank match or tournament or even an online tournament. So make sure you guys have various ways of solving one problem.
If I was to give a piece of advice for Street Fighter, I would say, I guess like the top player or the better players a lot of times corner them really fast, but I think that people should learn how to try to stay active and neutral without being punishable and letting the other person dictate how they walk back and forth, because they don't want to be walking all the way back into the corner. I see a lot of people always just walk straight backwards a lot of time, and they press a few buttons but they never really take any steps forward. So you don't want to let your opponent get you in the corner too fast in Street Fighter, because it's going to be very hard to get out and very frustrating, especially in the new Street Fighter 6. It's going to be very annoying being cornered. So you definitely want to learn how to try to stay active and neutral and not let your opponent corner you too easily.
Hey, what's up, guys? Idom here. You guys might know me as that lore player. I'm here to give you guys some tips about Street Fighter in general. Obviously, I can go to you guys with the basic elementary school kind of level fighting game stuff. Anti-airs are super important. There's some advanced tips that I would say with Street Fighter. I think one thing that people don't understand a lot with fighting games is very hard to really get a grip with in not just Street Fighter, fighting games in general. I feel like controlling the pace of the match is like super important. I feel like there's always a time to, I don't want to say random, but like controlling the pace. You can't play too perfect because then your opponent kind of knows what you're gonna do. I always say play good with like a hint of random in there. It's very hard to explain, but that's kind of how I've always found myself getting better and better at Street Fighter. Like, I've played plenty of top players going to tournaments and you're like, oh, why'd you do that, or why'd you do this? And I'm like, yeah, I was playing good in the beginning, but then there's always the hint of random. The thing with Street Fighter 6 is like it kind of lets you express yourself way more than I guess Street Fighter 5 would allow, with like drive rush and drive impact. The way I've seen kind of my early, I guess, success in 6, I'll try to like lull my opponent to sleep, kind of give him like a false sense of security, and then kind of try to like sprinkle in a random drive rush or a random drive impact, and then it usually works. I know it's a very hefty risk. That's kind of how I've seen how Street Fighter 6 has been playing out, and how I think in the long haul, I actually think that's kind of how the game's going to be played at high level. Personally, that's kind of my early tips on how to play Street Fighter 6.
LK asked, is there a piece of advice that only people who are playing Street Fighter or good at Street Fighter can give you to anybody who's new to the game? And I'm sure a lot of you are new. A lot of you have been playing other games for a while now, and this is the first Street Fighter you're interested in after 5, just kind of had a rocky launch and start and all that kind of stuff. Street Fighter is seen as a very easy game, but it's extremely difficult at a high level, especially, to get better at. And it's one of those games that the perception of it being easy will make it so that when you play it, if you're not winning at it, you feel like, oh, maybe it's not for me. I can't win at the easy fighting game. And some of this might sound familiar if you're, playing Strive and all that kind of stuff. And you've heard these kinds of things before. But on top of that, I will say that Street Fighter is not a game where you have to play walk back and forth, slow, grounded footsies, and like play clean. There's a really precedent that in that game you just have to walk back and forth, and I got to whiff and you whiff and we take turns whiffing, and it's like two people who are taking 10 steps back and then drawing and shooting at each other in a duel. Not that kind of a thing. If you want to go ham and just do wild stuff in Street Fighter, it's totally fine. It's a game where you can do that to an extent. And don't feel the pressure of needing to play like extra clean or extra solid, safe kinds of playstyles. I mean, if you want to see an example of this, Capcom Cup in 2015, the last one, the champion for Street Fighter 4 is Kazunoko. And he didn't win by playing solid, clean, grounded footsies. He won by picking Yun and saying, I don't want to learn how to do any neutral, right? He just said, like, I don't want to learn how to play footsies. I'm going to pick Yun, and I'm just going to dive kick at people and kill them. And Kazunoko's the GOAT. That's what he did. He's playing against Daigo Umehara, playing Evo Ryu, right? The solid, fundamental Shoto character. So, you know, the game, it's not as easy as people make it out to be. Street Fighter is a hard game to master because less is more, and you'll really feel it when you play it. And you don't have to play this clean, solid style. If you want to play a character who flies around the screen doing nasty stuff and drive impacting and all this other kind of stuff, just do it, man. Don't let these people make you walk back and forth and play slow, grounded, neutral. Not worth it, bro. Swing. Go ham.
And to top it up, as a bonus, I have one for you guys as well, because I've been grinding the game a lot. I've been playing Honda, I've tried out Manon, starting Chun-Li. The main thing I've learned from playing a lot of matches, both ranked and people who are experienced in Street Fighter, is that it's okay to go for what you want to go for. Like, it's okay to take a risk, and it's okay to overextend. The game is made around restrictions. Like, a lot of this game has, like, things are unsafe and you can't run very quickly, you can't like air dash, you can't double jump. There's a bunch of things that I'm used to having that you can't do in this game. So by that extent, you have to kind of overextend, and the game's not too punishing in this regard, besides things like you going for reversal, like reversal supers or reversal dragon punches. Those are like kind of the main times where you take like big punches. Besides that, like when you're wrong, you don't die. Where like, let's say you're from Guilty Gear Strive. If you're wrong in Guilty Gear Strive, that is a bad time. Like, depending on the character you're playing against, that could beat the whole round. Where in Street Fighter, your opponent will have some advantage, but it's not the end of the world. So don't be afraid to try stuff, even if someone is like that stupid. So for example, to jump in. If you jump in and you're right, your return is really high. But if someone anti-airs you, you're not losing the whole game because someone hits you with a Dragon Punch. So just don't be afraid to try stuff. Thank you so much to Sajam, Kizzie, Idom, and Punk for coming on this video and sharing their advice. I was kind of surprised at how like open-ended the things they said were, which is why I was really curious to see what they would say. So really shout out to them. Thank you for helping out this video. As usual, if you guys have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Shout out to the patrons as usual. We do viewer request videos. I do a bunch of early release stuff all over there if you're interested in that over on the Patreon. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.